Hi guys, and welcome to the 57th episode of the Junkie podcast. My name is Amber. Thank you so much for joining me if you were a new viewer, and if you're a returning viewer, thanks so much for coming back. It has been about a month since I've last sat down and recorded a podcast. I didn't intend to have a little hiatus, but I've been super busy with our remodel house, which I've referenced a few times, but I haven't talked about it a lot because we haven't really worked on it. But now we're gearing up to move, so we're really trying to get everything done. And I've just been over there, like, seriously, 8 hours a day, every day for the past few weeks. I do have some knitting content to show you, and I'll talk about the house stuff more later and chatter for those that are just here for the knitting, so you don't have to sit through it. I'm going to take a quick sip of my coffee. It is quite early in the morning here. It's about 7:30. I got my girls on the bus, and I just had to sit down and chat with you guys, because like I said, it's been a minute, and I have tons to show y'all. So, looking down at my notes just for a second, places I can be found online: Yarn Junkie with the number 6 on Ravelry. There is a Yarn Junkie podcast group. I would love it if you came and joined. We've got a couple of cows going on right now. I'll touch on those once I get to my whips for the cows. And there was a giveaway that I have written down, so I'll be doing the Mina Phillip of the Knitting Expat was so amazingly generous to donate not only myself a copy of her New York City sock collection, but also you guys. So I had a prompt in the thread that said, show me your favorite pair of socks, and I'll just go ahead and announce the winner right now, that way we get that out of the way. So I had 19 entries, which was great. Thank you so much for everybody who posted in there. The prompt was just to show me your favorite pair of socks you've knit, or if you haven't knit a pair of socks, which ones would you like to start with? So the winner was number 6, S. Kylie Knits, who is Amanda from Michigan. Congratulations, Amanda. I will get in touch with Mina, and she'll get that pattern collection sent over to you. And Amanda knit the Caramel Latte Socks by CC Almond, and those are going in my queue because those are too cute. Go to the thread and check out Amanda's post to see those socks. So I do have an FO, and I'm going to try to rush like crazy through this just because I have so much content to show you. I finally finished my fade, and I will go ahead and take it off. I'm going to stand up right quick so you can see how long it is. Forgive my pajama pants. So one tail goes directly below my knee, and the other tail's just resting at my thigh. And sometimes I feel like this gets in the way, so I'll just throw it over my shoulder dramatically, like that. So it's not in the way anymore, but I really love this shawl. I feel like this will probably be my most worn knit item that I've made. I know that I had a bit of a love-hate relationship going on with it for the majority of the 4 months that it took me to knit it, but now that it's finished, I honestly couldn't love it more. I love the colors that I've picked. I love the weight and feel of it. It's really lightweight because it's fingering weight yarn, but it's also incredibly warm. I wore this to our anniversary dinner last weekend. We just celebrated 13 years of marital semi-bliss. And I had a sleeveless shirt on, and I always get cold in restaurants, and so I was a little bit cold, but I didn't want to bring a sweater. And so I just fanned out these edges, and I had it, cupped around me like this, and I stayed so much warmer, and it's just so cozy and beautiful. It's like a security blanket. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about my yarns since I'm finished. Let me grab my scraps. I know a lot of people were kind of leery about making this shawl just because you use 7 skeins of yarn and it's all partial skeins. So I did wind off of the bigger cake the yarn that I needed for my tip, which is the Madeline Tosh MCN base in colorway Daffodil. And everyone just goes on and on about how much they love my gold tip when they see my shawl, and I do too. My second color, so that's the Daffodil. My second color is actually a Bohemia Fibers yarn. I believe the dyer behind Bohemia Fibers is Amy. That might not be right. If it's not, I'm sorry, but I think it is. So what Amy does, if that's your name, is she'll take a photo you can send her a photo of a picture you've taken, of a picture you're inspired by, whatever, and she'll dye a skein of yarn based off that photo. So I did a swapless swap last year sometime with the Spicy Homemaker podcast and ended up getting this yarn from a photo that I took of the sunset on the lake. So I love this color so much. It is in the shawl there. And then the third color I used, this one is an 80-10 blend, I believe. 80 merino, 10 nylon. And like I said, this is an MCN. The third color I used is from the Molly of a Homespun House, her Tim Burton Club colorway. So she does, movie club colorways occasionally, and this one is one from late last year. And it's the Alice Fell Down the Rabbit Hole colorway. And it's just really cool. It's got all these flecks of yellows, and I just felt it paired really nice. My next color, and that's a plump merino 80-10, I believe. My next color is this tonal gray from Lolo Did It. Now, I can't remember the base on this. I want to say it's an 80-10, and then this one is a BFL, but I've lost the tags. The colorway is Coal Miner's Daughter. I do know that. I'm a huge, huge Loretta Lynn fan, and Coal Miner's Daughter was one of my favorite songs when I was a kid. So, and then this colorway is another tonal from Lolo Did It, and it is, actually I think this one was dyed by Mr. Lolo. It's the Folsom colorway. Johnny Cash reference. Love me some Cash. So, and this one is a BFL. And this one is a BFL too, and it is the Nia colorway from Once Upon a Corgi, and I love this colorway. So it's got specks of green and purples throughout, and it's gray. It's just gorgeous. And then my last color on the end here, this beautiful purple, is kind of pink mauve. I'm not really sure what to call it. It's a Hue Loco yarn in her 50% merino, 50% silk blend. It's incredible, like butter. In her colorway, Darling. So that is my finished shawl. I can wear it like this too, grandma style, which I kind of do around the house, and then I'll throw one shoulder that way and one shoulder that way. And then it has it's long in the back and whatever, shawl. So my yarns, I know a lot of people said they don't want to knit this shawl because what are they going to do with the scraps, right? Well, with one of my scraps, I'm knitting a roller, the Rose City Roller by Marina Briner. This was the Andrea Mowry, which everyone knows, right? So I started this sock, showed you guys that one, started on my second one, almost to the toe decreases. But so this is what I did with some of my scraps. That will be the toe. And then the rest, I'm going to make rollers. I love the Rose City Roller pattern. I feel like it fits me really great. It's an easy, this was one of the first socks that I knit, and I probably have 6 pairs of Rose City Rollers because I love the pattern so much. So I'm thinking this will make another nice pair of rollers. And then with these, this was my heels. So now this is going to go into my blanket. Got that one. More heels for yarn. For socks. And then this one is going to be a special gift that I need to get worked up. It's long overdue gift, but I will be sure to show you guys that when I get done with it. This is the last color I used, the silk. So it's super special. But those are my balls, and I feel really good about having that much left over. I love having partial skeins to work up shorty socks. So there's an idea for you to do that. Something else, so that's a finished object. Another finished object that I have, but I'm gonna jump right quick and show you a work in progress. So a couple months ago, or a couple episodes ago, I showed off the little elephant that I had crocheted for my friend Mina's baby. and I sent it off to her, but I was working it up at midnight, and a few of my friends mentioned how they would love to have a class for them to learn how to make this elephant from the Edwards Menagerie book. And these animals are so fun. I've made several. So I took a bunch of samples with me for my class. I chatted with Amy, the proprietor of West 7th Wool, and, you know, ironed out this class schedule and all that. And this was my first time teaching in a group setting. Like, I've sat down with friends and stuff and taught them the basics, but this was my first time teaching a class. I was so nervous, you guys. I almost sat down a couple weeks ago and recorded a podcast just so y'all could see how nervous I was about this class. But I got there and it was fine. Like, half the class were friends of mine and they were very forgiving about my beginner teacher methods. And I feel like, honestly, as much as I love this pattern and as easy as it is, it's probably not, it's a beginner project for sure, but not for somebody that's never held a crochet hook, that doesn't have any terminology, but you know, any of the crochet stitches, they don't know them. And so I found it incredibly challenging to sort of navigate these ladies and you know, how to hold the hook or how to make the stitches. And so in saying that, I did have a couple of students finish the project, so yay me. But I went back to Amy and I said, hey, I've been thinking about it and I think that we'd be better off to teach a more basic class. And so I was racking my brain on what I could come up with, and I looked through my queue, like one does, and I saw this basket. Now in my queue I have the ombre basket saved, but the ombre basket holds 4 worsted weight strands of yarn together, and I just felt like that would be a bit cumbersome for a beginner to have to deal with yarn management in that way. So they have another basket by the same designer, and forgive me for not writing this down, but I do have a project page on this basket, and it was the Junkie basket, and it was holding 2 bulky weight strands of yarn together. So I thought that's going to be much more easy to manage for beginners. Let's go with that one. And it is worked up, like I said, holding 2 strands of bulky yarn together. And this is just what I had in my stash. I probably would have used different colors, but I had 3 skeins of the black and 1 skein of the blue. The black is Madeline Tosh bulky in 100% superwash merino, 110 yards. And the colorway is depth on the black. The blue, I lost the ball band too, and I can't remember the color. Sorry. But what you do is you work this up using an L hook or an 8mm. And this is just an Addy sparkly crochet hook. And I worked this up in an afternoon. Now, I was reading the pattern as I was working, so it might have been a little bit quicker had I not had to do that. But, and it's filthy with dog hair, so I'm sorry. But basically, it's just really easy. You do a simple increase on the bottom, you know, just a round, and then you're working through the back loop, or the back ridge, to create this braid. And then that's where I changed the pattern. So my modifications are all listed on my project page, but I didn't really like the way she had worked up the body of the body of the basket. Was a bunch of different stitches mixed up, and it wasn't aesthetically pleasing to me. So I got about halfway through the black, and I decided I didn't like it, ripped it back, and then re-crocheted it how I thought that it would look the best. And again, like I said, all my modifications are on the project page, and I was really diligent about writing them out since I'm teaching the class. I needed to do that. So I did run out of the black right there, the 2 strands of the black. It actually, one of the hanks was a few yards longer than the other, and had they both been matched up perfectly, I wouldn't have had that right there. But I mean, we'll turn that part to a wall. No one will see it. It's just a little fun whip basket, or like a sock knitting basket, you know. You could put all your dirty socks in here for when they need to be washed. And it stands up really nice, and I feel like it's really durable. But so there's that project, and I'm teaching a class May 4th and May 18th. It's going to be a 2-part class. So if you are local to West 7th Wool in Fort Worth and you would like to take my class, I'd love to meet you. But, oh, I was going to show you, I did try to work up a sample elephant. I have other animals that I've made, so I took those, but I really wanted to make an elephant to take it to class. And I didn't get it done because, as I said, we've just been incredibly busy working on the other house, and I just haven't had a lot of craft time. But here's my body, and here's my partial head. Isn't that sad? I did want to make one, that way I could have it as sort of a memorial to my first crochet class. And I'm using the Madeline Tosh Vintage, which is the worsted weight yarn, in colorway leopard, and I just love that for an elephant. So that's that project, and I'm working that up on my Furls crochet hook. A lot of the ladies at the class just love these, and once they learned the sticker price, they were like, "Are you insane?" In my defense, when I bought all my Furls hooks, I was crocheting a lot, and I was crocheting for commissions, and so I just found it really important to have an ergonomic hook, something that I love to use, and this has never disappointed me, and they have excellent customer service. I know I've talked about this before, but Furls is a local Texas company. They are down in Austin, and I actually broke one of my hooks and wrote them, and they replaced it, no questions asked. I broke it. It was my fault. I was being an idiot. It was 100% user error, and I told them that, and they were like, "No problem, we'll send you another one." So, yeah, heirloom quality, beautiful crochet hooks. If you're a crocheter, Mother's Day is coming up. Treat yourself. If you're not a mother, just pretend you are and treat yourself anyway. But so, and I have all that in my elephant bag from Yarn Seller Studios. Because yeah, and it fits my bag really good. This is like a sweater size. The bag fits my book really good, is what I should have said. There we go. So my class and my fade are done. Another sock whip that I have in here, in addition to my roller that I've been working on, is this sock that I've had cast on for an embarrassing amount of time. So I cast this on in November when we went to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. We took my daughter Atrella, who just turned 11, to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter for her birthday. And I cast on these socks because they're Lupin. This is the Lupin yarn by Nomadic Yarns. And I probably got, on that trip, these were like my line knitting socks, but the time of year that we went, there was almost no lines anywhere. So I didn't get a lot of knitting done. I was probably up to here on that trip. And what's so interesting about taking a trip with children versus taking a trip without children is I got that much knitting done on I can't remember how many days we were gone, to Florida. But then we came home, and my husband and I basically immediately went to California. And I knit this whole sock on that trip. I cast it on the morning before we left. I had it up to here by the time I got on the plane, was up to the heel by the time we landed, and just knit the leg. So, and this has been on. This is the single sock, and it's been on the needle since November, you guys. Here's some sock shame for you. So I did take these. We went camping for Easter. My girls had, if you can hear my chicken, we have a rogue chicken that likes to escape, and she lays her eggs right there on the windowsill, and she's right there doing her egg song. So if you can hear that and that's annoying, sorry, that's what it is. But so I took these socks camping thinking, if it's the only thing I take, then I'm sure to make progress on it. Why I take knitting camping, I'll have no idea. I hardly ever have time to knit. If I do, it's like a few rows and then I'm done. But it's just the comfort of having knitting. I think I've talked about this before too. Like just to have it right there in case, and just, to touch the fibers, and it just brings me so much peace to have my knitting with me. And I have to show off my amazing Progress Keeper by Knitty by Nature, the little moon, because Lupin needs a moon. And so I had these on my 9-inch circs when we went camping, and I had them in the front of the boat with me. So we went on a 20-mile canoe ride down the Brazos River, and we camped 2 nights on 2 different locations. And like I said, we rode in a canoe 20 miles, okay? The first day, I think we rode for about 4 or 5 hours. The second day, 7 hours. And then the third day, I think it was like 5 hours. And I mean, we took breaks and stuff and got out of the boat and peed and had snacks or whatever. So it wasn't like straight rowing the whole time. But I had this sock in the front of the boat with me, not in a wet bag. because I'm insane. And it got soaking wet and it got muddy. So I had mud caking my yarn on the outside. And luckily this is Blueface Luster blend. And like literally when I got home, it just brushed off and it's no worse for the wear. Like you literally can't tell anything ever happened to this yarn. So BFL for the win. It's definitely one of my favorite blends to work with. And I had these, like I said, on my 9-inch circs, but when I got home, I actually recently got these new Leica these needles. I likey these needles. The Likey driftwood needles. And they're my typical sock knitting size 1 or 1.25 millimeter. So I really do like these joins. I'm not a fan of magic loop because of the act of shoving your needle back into your stitches annoys the daylights out of me, but this one, look, I don't even have to hold it right there. It wants to go. I love these needles. And I did a swap with Molly of Molly Klein Designs, and she sent me, I'm looking to see if her card's right here. I don't know what I did with your card, Molly. Here it is. So she sent me, after we did the swap, a Beatles DPN cozy or needle cozy. I love the Beatles. In case y'all didn't know, I have a child named after a Beatles song, okay? And here's her card. So go visit her Etsy shop for awesome project bags and all kinds of stuff. She is a jack of all crafts, as it were. Jill of all crafts. But so those are my sock whips that I'm kind of hauling everywhere. I love that this bag fits 2 sock whips because I kind of get bored of working on the same thing. And it's just one of my favorite bags. I love this fabric. So I did my crochet basket. I showed you guys. Sorry, I'm looking down at my notes. 1 second. So another sock that I've been working on, talk about the cowl. So we're doing the Snip Your Socks cowl currently, and I'm the world's worst co-host because it was technically supposed to be from March 15th to April 15th. But I didn't finish my socks, and I haven't been very active in the thread, so I went ahead and edited and extended it without talking with my co-host because she has been kind of MIA as well. Hi, Bethany, if you're watching. But I extended it through the month of April. So April 30th is going to be the cutoff. If you're knitting the Smooth Operator socks, Afterthought heel socks, Afterthought everything socks, if you're cutting a heel into your socks, go post them in the thread. I would love for you to enter, and I've decided I'm going to give a pattern price to the winner of their choosing up to $7. So it doesn't, I was going to say it was a sock pattern, but whatever pattern you want, $7 if you're participating in the thread. So my husband actually asked me about these socks, so I'm going to wrap them up and do the unveiling again. So I'd been working on these forever, and Tim was like, well, it's going to be a really long sock, and I explained, no, it's just a tube, you cut in the heels, and he said, you're going to cut your knitting. And then he asked me about it, so it had been a few weeks since I worked on them. I got the tube done, and I had them put up because I didn't have the mental space to watch a video to knit a heel, or to cut my yarn. And so once I finally, before that, he asked me about them. He was like, hey, what happened to those socks you were working on? So I took them out, and they were like this. So I unrolled them, and he was like, wow, that looks like Beetlejuice yarn. That's exactly what it is. Husband got brownie points for that. I don't know if he's actually heard me call it the Beetlejuice yarn, but either way, he gets brownie points. This is mustache yarn, self-striping in the colorway Beetlejuice. So yay for that. These were originally intended for a trella, but doing an afterthought heel, I think I've read somewhere where people will do like an inch of straight stockinette knitting before they start their decrease for their heel, and maybe I should have done that because a trella does have quite a height instep, and while these socks fit, they just barely fit. And I don't want to gift them to her only to have her outgrow them in a month or two. So I told her I'll knit her a different pair of socks, and that these will be for Prudence because they fit her fine. They're a little bit big in the, areas, but they fit really good. So I have my stitches picked up for my second heel, and then I'll pop in my toes And I've really enjoyed working on this tube. I feel like I'll probably do it again. And it's only a $2 pattern, the Afterthought Everything Socks. And I felt like it was very, very easy because I didn't have to think about where I'm putting my heel or my toe decreases. I just knit a tube. And so the tail that I'm using, or the toe heel color that I'm using, is this Hedgehog Fibers Mini in a potluck colorway. And something I will say about Hedgehog Fibers is I find it incredibly splitty. So when you're doing like make ones or anything like that, and then when I was doing my Kitchener, the stitches sort of, the plies, unraveled, and then it just looks kind of sloppy on the end. And that's not because of my Kitchener, it's just because the strands unraveled and I wasn't able to get them to pull taut again. So I'm a little bit frustrated by that, but overall I love the color of the heel with this yarn. I think it looks really well. But that's all I have to say about that. I do think with contrasting heels and toes, I'll have enough of this to maybe make Atrella a pair of Rose City rollers. That way she still gets a Beetlejuice sock as well. And I have all that shoved in my nomadic yarn cube. I go on and on about this every podcast. I love this little bag. So the next whip I've been working on, notes. Yeah, we'll talk about this. So I went to DFW Fiberfest. It was the first weekend of April, second weekend of April, something like that. Okay, so I went to DFW Fiberfest. I wasn't originally going to go, but the more I thought about it, the more I didn't want to miss out on seeing my friends or the vendors or any of that. So I messaged Amy, the owner of West 7th Wool, and asked her if she needed any help in her booth because they were going to have a booth at the fest. And she said, sure, I'd love some help on Sunday. And I said, okay, I'd be there. And so I went, I wrote a post on Facebook, wore my knitting and crocheting dress and my knit shawl, and I was decked out. So I wrote a post on Instagram saying I was going to go, and it turned out a friend met me up there. She saw I was going to be there, and this is a friend from when Madtosh was open, my old local yarn store. She used to come to knit nights all the time, and I haven't seen her very much in about a year because she's just been busy with stuff in life. And so when she saw that I was doing a crochet class for the elephant, she took the class, and I was so happy to see her again. And then when she saw I was going to the fest, she had family, was busy that day or whatever, her kids were out of the house all day. So she's like, oh, I'm going to go see Amber. So she came up there and we hung out a little bit, and I don't think she watches my podcast. I don't even think she knows I have a podcast. Debbie, if you are watching, hi. But so we walked around vendor hall a little bit, and she had been talking to me about wanting to learn to knit socks and asking about needles and stuff. And I told her a few different brands of needles, but then we went over to the Signature booth, which was next door to the booth that I was working in, West 7th Wool. Signature needles. I've been coveting, I have a pair of Strites for my Cozy Memories blanket, but I've been really wanting a pair of sock knitting needles because I'm a sock knitter. And so I was kind of looking at him and playing with him, and she was like, well, are these good needles? And I said, yeah, they're really good needles. Some people just have sticker shock over them. And she was like, well, are you going to get some? And I was like, I'm kind of thinking about it, but I didn't want to spend any money. You guys know that I'm on a yarn diet. I'm really trying to knit some of the beautiful yarns that I have instead of constantly acquiring more. And so I didn't want to buy anything, but one thing that I was going to allow myself to splurge on was a pair of needles. So I went back to my booth and I was kind of working, and Debbie came back over and was asking me about what size needles she should get and this and that. And I said, well, you're a tighter knitter than me, so I'm not really sure what to tell you, probably whatever size I told her. And she was like, yeah, but what size do you use? I was like, well, I use, this. And she was like, okay, well, what size, how long do you want them? 5 inches, 6 inches? And I was like, whatever is comfortable in your hand. And finally, she was just like, come over here. I'm trying to buy you a pair of needles. What? So she bought herself and me a pair of Signature needles. And I switched over my New York City socks onto my new Signatures so I could play with them. So I started knitting these on my carbons, and I was about here last time I showed you, and now I've popped in my Fish Lips Kiss Heel. The pattern, Mina's sock pattern collection comes with a German short row heel, but again, I have not had the mental space to attempt to sit down to read a pattern on a new heel, and I just have the Fish Lips memorized, so that's what I popped in. But another thing I will say about Hedgehog Fibers yarn, this is Hedgehog Fibers again in one of their potluck colorways. It's incredibly thin. So to compare, I don't know if y'all are going to be able to get a good representation of this, but to compare, when an inty dyed is on top and then the hedgehog is on bottom. So I don't know if y'all can see how much thinner the diameter of the yarn is with it like that, but it is. It's a little bit thinner. And so these socks are pretty tight. I can still get my foot in them, but I don't like having to struggle to put my foot into socks. It annoys the daylights out of me. I would almost rather them be loose than too tight. And so I'm kind of torn right now whether I need to rip these out and restart them or whether they will stretch out a little bit. I haven't actually knit socks with Hedgehog Fibers yet. I've knit a shawl and I've knit a sweater. So I don't know if it will stretch, if it will bloom, if it will be better, or if I just need to frog this and start over. But I am loving these needles, okay? The tips are really great, so these stitches are really a lot of fun with these signature needles. I don't remember what carbons, I guess, is what I said I had these on. And those were fine, but I really like the tips of the signatures much better to be able to manipulate those stitches. So where'd my other needle go? I have 4. Oh, I almost stabbed myself with it. Don't stab yourself with the needles, Amber. So there's my needles. I'm super happy with them. I love them. I think they're well worth the price, even though I didn't buy them. Thank you to my best knitting friend. And let me know what y'all think about whether I should frog this sock or not. I'll put it on so you guys can see how tight it is. But I feel like it's just not going to make me very happy. So one booth that I went to at DFW Fiber Fest, I really wanted these. The yarn shop is called Park Avenue Yarns, and they are in Houston. And I almost went to that yarn shop when we were down there on vacation this summer, but we ran out of time, and my husband always tries to take me to yarn shops when we can, but we really ran out of time on that trip, so I didn't get to go. But Park Avenue Yarns was at DFW, and they had the most gorgeous booth, and they have these things called craft badges. So you can get one of their bags, like a tote, like a big canvas tote, and then they have these craft badges that you can sew or iron on, I'm not sure, on this bag, or any bag. You can take a French supply bag and put these craft badges on it. And basically the concept is the same as a Girl Scout. So I don't know if you were a Girl Scout, but I was. And you know, we had our sash, and we had all these little activities that we've mastered. So as far as Park Avenue Yarns go, the little badges that they have one for continental knitting, they have one for English knitting, they have one for sewing, they have one for crocheting, they have, go check out their website because they're all on there, Park Avenue Yarns. I'm seriously coveting those badges. But here is how tight my sock is. So, that's not a very good representation. Look, can you see how pulled apart the stitches are? Yeah, I think I'm gonna frog it. Sorry for shoving my foot in your face. That was not very helpful at all. So I do love the needles though. The yarn is to be decided. The needles are my jam. And I lost my other one. Again, there it is. Okay, that's enough about these socks. The other socks that I pulled out of this bag were my Pieces of My Heart socks. I showed you guys those last time, and it's a woe. It's a woe, not a hoe, not a whip. It's a woe because, as you can see, there's no needles and there's no yarn attached. These are huge. These are huge. So the stitch count has you go up, and I really should have probably stayed with my normal stitch count and just did the math on the hearts, but I didn't, and these are now going to be scrapped. So I think it's important to show you guys my failures as much as my finished objects, because it happens and it's just yarn, and you can rip it out and you can wash it and it can be new again, and you can make something that you'll actually wear or actually love instead of just holding on to a project because you have time knitting into it. Just rip it out, just rip it out. So when we went to DFW Fiber Fest, I of course looked at all the booths, and Jinx Yarn's one of my favorite dyers, and she was there. She wasn't at DFW last year because she had the flu or something, but I did buy yarn from her last year because I contacted her and said I wanted these colorways, but you weren't here, and she, honored that because she was supposed to be there. And so instead of buying any of her yarn like I wanted to do, I came home and cast on her colorway from last year. So this is her Confetti and Champagne anniversary colorway. And it's really beautiful, pastels. I have this in my Studio in the Green project bag. I have 2 cakes separated by my zipper. This is a great 2 at a time bag, and she even has these little yarn guides, but I don't use them. So what I've been doing is 2 at a time, you guys. So about once a year, I get it in my head that I want to knit 2 at a time socks, and then it doesn't last long before I've separated them and knit them in tandem. But so far, so good, you guys. Look, I'm knitting these on my Chow Goos, again, size 1, 2.25. I really like the Chow Goos. I like their cord. Their needle tips are good. I just really enjoy them. So it is a little bit fiddly to be able to push this back in. I have to hold it just right to get that cable to kind of glide. But it does glide once you kind of get it in the right orientation. But so I've been working on these since Easter weekend. I cast these on right before we went camping, didn't take them with us, and then started working on them once we got back home. So I'm not very far along at all, but I did want to cast on some of her yarn since I was so good about not buying any. And I really love this colorway. It looks like dyed Easter eggs. So that is that project, and totally inspired, again, by DFW and seeing Jinx Yarn in the flesh. And also because of DFW, I have been wanting to. Amy was working on her drops Turkish spindle while vending. I was knitting on my super long tube sock, and she was doing her spindle. And I was watching her, and I was watching her, and I was watching her, and I was like, man, I want to spin. And so I brought up my spindle the next time I went to knit night and had her show me a little bit. I know I can watch it online, but it's so much better to see someone in person. And I've been spinning, you guys. I've been spinning on my Jerry Brock Turkish spindle, chicken and the egg, because we have chickens. And I'm doing okay. It's not great. I am using a BFL comb top from Kamaj Fibers, and this came in one of my spinning boxes. So just Google spinning box and you get this. It's a monthly subscription that you buy each month. It's not like you sign up and it charges your credit card. You have to physically go every single month to buy the box. And I think I've gotten 2 or 3 months worth. The amount of fiber that you get, it's $50. I think it's really like $48, including shipping US. The amount of fiber you get is insane. So this is one of the ones that came in that, and it's just this beautiful purple BFL comb top. And I have been having a really good time spinning it. So I often don't have spinning projects, so that was nice to be able to show y'all. And this is a great spinning bag. This is from Mommy Sew. She has an Etsy shop. She's actually one of my knit night friends. And this is one of the first bags that I bought. And it's super tall, so I have a couple of different types of fiber in here. And then my spindle fits so nicely on top to where it's not going to get crushed. And it's just like sort of nestled in there. Perfect. So I really was liking spinning, and then I did get some acquisitions. Again, I did not break my yarn diet. I did not buy anything but lunch when I was at DFW. Cross my heart, stick 1,000 needles in my eye, etc. However, I do have amazing friends, and a lady walked up to me right after I first got there, and she said, "How's your penny floor coming?" I was like, it's coming. So if you don't know, at my remodel house, I'm doing a penny floor. I'm taking coins and laying them out on the laundry room floor. And so she asked me about that, and I kind of chatted with her for a minute, and obviously she's my Instagram follower. She watches my podcast. Hi, Penny. Her name's Penny. Like, how perfect is that? And so at the end of the day, when all the vendors were packing up and stuff, I went to go say bye to one of my other friends in her booth, and Penny was like, "Oh, hey, come here," because she was like right there by my friend's booth. And she is a part of the Brazen Stitchery yarn dyeing. And she said, "Hey, I'd love to give you a skein of yarn and a skein for a giveaway too." What? Thank you so much, Penny. That is so incredibly generous and kind. I was so excited. I kind of dug through. They'd already had all the yarn in bags, so I kind of dug through. And I was really tempted by this purple and green, but I'm trying to branch out of my comfort zone and get other colors. So I found this one. And again, this is Brazen Stitchery, which is a local to me dyer. She lives in the Fort Worth area, which isn't too far from me, but so be Brazen. And when I picked this yarn, Penny got really excited because this is one of the ones that she dyed. So you have this skein dyed by Stacy or Penny. And Penny dyed this one. And it is a Melody sock, 100% superwash merino, 490 yards, you guys. That's a lot of yardage. And it's a 3-ply. And the colorway is Bernadette. So I really love this yarn. And I was originally thinking this would be an awesome pair of socks, but obviously I didn't read that it's 100% superwash merino. Then I was asking Atrella what I should do with it, and she said it'd be a really awesome hat. So I'm thinking maybe a sock head hat for Atrella. But it's to be decided. We'll see. We'll see what happens with this. But this is the yarn that I picked for myself to keep. And then I picked a skein for a giveaway. And what I was thinking is I'll enter this into I meant to say that, my Lupin socks are for my husband, for the partner box of socks cow that I've been having going on for a while. The idea is just to knit a box of socks for your partner, your husband, your wife, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, the person in your life that takes all your crap, needs a pair of socks, needs a box of socks. So I'm knitting my husband a box of socks, and I had several of you say that that was a really good idea and that you'd like to do it. And I've had so much chatter in the thread, which is great. So I collected this thinking this will be a great gender neutral, you know, works for a husband, works for a wife, pair of socks. So this will be a prize for that. Probably given away in another month or so. I'm pretty busy right now. I don't have time to be doing giveaways. But I'm so grateful to Penny to send us this. And it's, again, Brazen Stitchery. If you wanted to go online and check out their shop, they have amazing, like, fandom yarns and everything. And this is Legato sock. 80% merino, 10% cashmere, and 10% nylon. It is 435 yards, and the colorway is Gollum. Guys, I think y'all know by now, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, and when I saw this Gollum colorway, I almost kept this skein for myself. But I was like, no, we must be good, we must share. So I really I feel like it's a perfect spring, summer colorway. So I will definitely get this out in the next coming weeks to the chatter people in the partner box of socks cow. So if you have been knitting along, be sure to post a picture or just some words in that thread so you are entered to win that skein of yarn. So another thing that I picked up that was free at this fest was this button, and it says, "My stash is legal." I'm such a nerd, but that is so hilarious to me. I love it. And Amy, being Amy, again, the owner of West 7th Wool, is so amazing. Like, I offered to work, then be a vendor with her just so I could get in for free and not have to pay or whatever. Just, she didn't have to do anything extra. But of course, Amy, being Amy, gives me a gift card. the next time I went to Knit Night for helping in her booth. I wish I had brought the sweet little note she gave me, had a unicorn on it. But, so she gave me a gift card for the shop. I got those lichen needles, and I got this skein of yarn. So when I was working the booth, I saw this, and I was like, I really need this, but I'm not buying yarn, so I'm gonna be good. This is a Twisted Owl Fiber Studio, and again, this is a local dyer, Longview, Texas. Longview is not really local, but Texas. So, this yarn is called Goblin King, and it is a 2-ply sock, 80/20 merino nylon, 400 yards. Atrella, all of our favorite movie, is like, The Labyrinth is up there in the top 5. And I feel like this is perfect for Jarrett's makeup. You know, his eye makeup in the film. It's got all these shots of different colors. It's just a beautiful colorway. And this is going to be a pair of socks for Atrella, definitely. I really love this colorway. And it's outside of my comfort zone because it's pale and pastel and like, I love it. I really love it. I'm thinking a pair of Hermione Everyday socks would be just glorious in this colorway. So that was my last acquisition from the, oh no, also with the gift card, Amy restocked these little point protectors. So I showed you guys my sock, and it has these little tulip point protectors on them, which is perfect for the 9-inch circs. I knit these on DPNs from the cuff, the heel, the gusset decreases, but then as soon as I got to the foot, I put them on 9-inch circs because I fly with 9-inch circulars. And these little tips are so cute. So they keep your stitches on, but they're also adorable. They're little tulips. And it's a tulip product, tulip brand product. And Amy carries these in her shop. She was out of stock for a while, but I'd asked about them because I wanted to send some in a swap. And so she restocked them. So I got 2 sizes. I got the little size, which it says small, and then the other size says large. And I'm not sure what these would fit on. Probably like a 4. These fit on sock needles. The small ones fit on sock needles. And I'm thinking the larger ones fit like on, yeah, like a 4 or 6 size needle. They would fit a wide variety because of the way the, sorry for the crinkles, because of the way the points on the inside are, they're gonna fit a wide variety of hooks, needles, sorry. And that is all the acquisitions I personally got, but I did do a swap with Molly, as I said, and she sent me some goodies, so I wanted to show some of that stuff off. She sent me a ton of minis, which I'm not going to show you all of them, but I did want to show you this one just because I thought it was really beautiful. It's kind of this furry purple yarn. It's super soft. I don't know what blend it is or anything, but super pretty. And then she crocheted me a dishcloth, which is funny because I knit her a dishcloth in a purple colorway because she likes purple and I like purple. And then she crocheted me a dishcloth. So I just thought that was so sweet, and I haven't used it yet because I wanted to show it off, but now that I have, I definitely will. And she also sent me some soap. As I mentioned, if you go to her Etsy shop, she has DPN cozies, bags. She makes handmade soap, and look at these stamps. Life. Atrella loves this. She saw it, and then she smelled it, and she was like, oh my god, this is so awesome. Can I have it? I said, sure, darling. And it is the fresh cut grass smell, which that's one of my favorite scents in the world is fresh cut grass. So that was really sweet. Thank you so much, Molly. She also sent some chocolate, which I don't particularly like cookies and cream, but the girls ate this and loved it. So they thank you for the chocolate. They thank you. And she sent some other stuff as well, but that's all I'll show. I also got a sweet package from my friend Melissa of Knitty by Nature. She wanted to send the girls a package, and it was just so sweet and over the top. Like my mom always did the silly little Easter things, you know, that you buy that junk up the toy box eventually, but whatever, the kids love them for weeks on end. So she sent a bunch of stuff like that for the girls, and it was so sweet to watch them open all the stuff and just to see her generosity and kindness, and like just to have that carry over from my mom. It was just really special to me. So Melissa, I really appreciate that. I'm gonna start crying now because I've been missing my mom like crazy. She usually always came out on Easter and spent like the whole weekend with us, and that's kind of why we went camping, just so I wouldn't have to be here thinking about it. If you don't know, my mom passed away late December, early December 2015. She was only 49. So Melissa sent me this package to change the subject. Look at this little chocolate. It's a lamb. It's adorable. I didn't want to eat it because I had to show it to you guys, and now that I have, I'm gonna gobble it up. But it is so cute. I can't even. So she also sent some other chocolates, some stitch markers. The stitch markers are really cool. She always gets me with these stitch markers, man. So she sent me a sun, and if you've seen my penny floor on Instagram, I'm doing a sun on the penny floor. She sent me this really cool, I think it's like a Celtic symbol. I might be wrong, but I just went to the Irish festival, so I'm going with it's a Celtic symbol. She sent me this one. So if you guys watched my podcast before last, I knit a little mushroom after our camping trip. And so she sent me a little mushroom. I love that mushroom. And then the last one is this is it an Easter egg? This really cool egg. So definitely go to her shop, Knitty by Nature on Etsy. She has so many progress keepers. And then she has this really cool ring that you can hook to your project bag, so your progress keepers can just dangle and sound jangly. And then she also sent me this one, which just made me crack up. I don't know if you've been watching for a while, you know about my dental woes and how I've been going to the dentist every couple of weeks for the past year because I neglected. I didn't neglect my teeth. I take incredibly good care of my teeth, and I always have, but I just have really bad genetics when it comes to my teeth. They crumble apart, and I've had cavities galore, and I had an extreme anxiety about the dentist, so I just didn't go for a few years. Just didn't go, and that was the biggest mistake of my life, because now I'm paying for it. But my teeth are getting fixed, and she sent me this little thing, and I just freaking died, I swear. It made me laugh so hard. It's like a little denture. It's like a little denture progress keeper or bag pull or whatever. It's freaking teeth. Thank you, Melissa. This seriously made me smile so hard. So that is all the knitting, content, everything else I have to show you. I did want to show you some of the pennies that I found while working on my floor. So if you've never seen a penny floor, go to Pinterest and type in penny floor. It's going to show you a ton. I've had people tell me, oh yeah, I've seen that on Pinterest, and then I've had people tell me, I've never even heard of a penny floor. Where'd you get that idea? First, I am not creative, okay? When my friends look at my knitting and talk about how talented and creative I am, I can follow a pattern. I can follow an idea of somebody else and execute it on my own, but creative, coming up with things on my own, no. So I did get it from Pinterest, and I have been laying pennies for the past week and a half. I've taken a few breaks here and there because we went camping and then I had errands, etc. Life happens, but it is finally done. I laid my last penny yesterday. Now we need to make sure the glue dries and then grout it and then pour an epoxy resin over the top to seal it, and it will have a glossy finish. So in doing my pennies, I have found money like you wouldn't believe. So if you are from not from the US, a penny is our lowest cent on money. It is 1 cent, and it looks like this. This is a penny. It's got Lincoln on it, Abraham Lincoln, and this one is from 1939, which I just think is really cool. But that's a penny, and it took me 20,000 of these to get to 72 square feet. And yeah, that's quite a feat. So the first couple of foreign pennies I found, totally excited me, were Canadian. And I showed them, you know, on Instagram. I tagged my Canadians, and they all said that the penny is about to not be circulated anymore in Canada. So these are extra special, and I have a lot of Canadians. Canadian, 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 Canadian. I actually have laid some of the Canadian ones in the floor, and it's going to be like a treasure hunt for guests that come over, find the Canadian pennies. But so here are the ones that I didn't lay. And one of them, actually more than one, so most of them have this lady on them, Elizabeth II. And then she's like this in some of them. And then she's like this in some of them. Let me find a different one. Which one did I just show you? Okay, this one's different. She's like this in some of them. But they're Elizabeth II. They're all Elizabeth II. And then there's this guy. So I have to research to figure out who he is. And I did have a penny where you could see his face clearly, but I don't know what happened to it somewhere. But this one, it's all scratched up. But you see that dude? This is a Canadian penny from 1943. And it's got this guy on it, and I can't read who his name is, but I found that really interesting. So if you know who that is, please share. I love learning about money now. It's one of my favorite things. Some other coins that I found. This one came from Panama, Republic de Panama, and it is from 2001. And it's got this pharaoh looking dude on it. Look at that pharaoh guy. Isn't that cool? And then so I went to sleep one night thinking about my penny floor because it's been running through my head every single day. And I thought, how cool would it be to find an Indian head penny? What'd I find the next day? But an Indian head penny. Guys, I really believe in like what you put out into the world comes back to you. I'm not religious necessarily, but I really believe like in the theory of karma. If you're a good person, good things happen. If you push out good vibes, good things happen. If you're negative Nancy, negative things are going to be drawn to you. It's like a magnet. So I imagined finding this, and then it was in my hand the next day. I couldn't believe it. So it's from 1897. But the thing about Indian head pennies, I read about them, and they've been replicated a lot. So the likelihood of me having an actual Indian head penny, probably not. But I am going to take it to a coin place and see about it, because I just think that is the coolest thing. So the last one that I found that was epic was this, and it's not a penny. It is actually a florin. And it's got that same guy from Canada on here, but it's not a Canadian coin. It is an Australian coin. It's got a kangaroo and an emu on the back of it. It is from 1944, and this is a florin. So a florin is 1/10 of a pound. A shilling in Australian money, 2 shillings equal 24 pennies. So a pound in US is $1.35. Like I said, guys, I'm learning about money, but the back of that just like is the coolest thing. Y'all have cool money in other places. So that is all about my penny floor. At the end of this video, I might do like a little montage of my pictures so you guys can see my progress if y'all don't follow me on Instagram. I will probably upload a separate video of the girls' crafts just because I'm sure this went on long enough. And they've been quite productive lately. And I want to show y'all some of the stuff that they've made. And also, if y'all are interested in their crafting video, I'll tack on our family camping trip. So I took pictures, I took video, and I kind of spliced it all together in a little 9-minute video. If y'all are interested in that, I didn't want to make it public and then y'all feel like I was spamming y'all with non-knitting content. It's not something that I have to share. It's just if y'all want to see our camping life, I'd love to share it because that is a big part of our lives and we do love camping so much. So thank you so much for joining me this week. I know it's been a minute. Hopefully it won't be another hiatus before I'm back with you guys. Be sure to go enter into the Afterthought Everything socks if you're cutting into your heels. Be sure to go enter into the partner box of socks. You don't have to knit 12 pairs of socks for your partner. Knit as many pairs as you can for the year. And at the end of the year, however many you have is however many you have. It's not like you have to knit 12 pairs of socks for your husband. I'll probably only knit mine like maybe 3 pair. My goal is 6. I've adjusted my expectations since it's almost May, and now my goal is 3 pairs. So thank you again, guys. I am obviously rambling now. I'll see y'all next time. Until then, happy crafting.